If you're an investor who's been looking at purchasing property in Dubai, I'm sure you would have asked yourself a question on whether do you purchase a townhouse or an apartment. They've both got their positives and negatives, and in this video I'm going to be breaking down the price, current rents, and future capital appreciation. So starting with price, let's assume you have a budget of 2 million dirhams. For 1.6 million dirhams you can buy a one-bedroom apartment in the heart of the Dubai Marina, which has a full marina view. So if we use my apartment for example, this apartment is roughly 650 square foot. So on a price per square foot basis, that comes to roughly 2,461 dirhams per square foot. Whereas if you wanted to purchase townhouse, you'd have to use your entire 2 million dirham budget, and for this price you can get a 3-bedroom property in town square, which is 2,200 square foot in size. So on a square foot basis, that comes to 909 dirhams per square foot. This goes to show that buying a townhouse is a lot more affordable compared to buying an apartment on a square foot basis. However, it's worth bearing in mind that town square is over 30 minutes away from the Dubai Marina, so you've got to take that into consideration. So the main takeaways of this is, for a similar price point, you can either be on the outskirts of Dubai or you can be in one of the primest locations in the very heart of the Dubai Marina. So let's look at rents. If we use exactly the same examples, you can rent a property for 110,000 dirhams yearly. However, it's worth noting, because there's so many tourists who want to visit the Dubai Marina, you can rent it on a long-term basis for a lot higher. So that could be roughly 150,000 dirhams yearly. Whereas if we compare this to townhouses, you can only really rent them on a long-term basis, and current properties in town square are renting for 145,000 dirhams yearly. So again, if we're comparing the two, the rents are relatively similar. However, if we're looking at the gross yield, an apartment in the Dubai Marina will get you a 9.5% return. Whereas if we compare that to townhouses, a townhouse will only get you a 7.25% gross yield. So this clearly shows the yield you can get with apartments are a lot higher, especially if you rent it on a short-term basis. However, it's worth taking into account that these are gross yields only, and when you factor in the other fees like the service charge, management fees, bills, etc., then the gross yields won't be as high. However, with an apartment, it's still going to be higher. So this is very important that you do your own research and you calculate all your costs before you make any investment. So now let's talk about the thing which everybody wants to know, which is about capital appreciation. It's worth bearing in mind that nobody knows in the future what's going to happen. However, you can make educated guesses by looking at supply versus demand. So if we're looking at supply, Knight Frank recently released a report that there should be 83,500 units which are coming onto the market by the end of 2028. Of these units, 69% or 59,000 will be apartments. So what this means, townhouses and villas are going to be scarcer in supply, and a byproduct of that is there's a greater chance of both capital appreciation and rental increase. So if we're looking at those numbers and we know 69% of a current supply by 2028 will be apartments, it's vitally important that you pick an area, especially if you're investing in apartments, where supply is limited. For this reason, that is why I recommend either Dubai Marina or places like JLT, where supply is very, very limited. Because if you invest in an area where there's lots of supply coming onto a market, you're less likely to see any large capital appreciation. So this highlights the fact there's a lot less supply of townhouses and villas which are going to be coming onto the market. So next we've got to look at demand. So if you are investing in an area such as the Dubai Marina, there's lots and lots of demand from tourism. Because there's lots of demand from tourism, that also means there's lots of demand from investors. So for this reason, I do feel capital appreciation in areas such as the Dubai Marina, albeit not at a rate as what we've seen in the past, because since the COVID lows, prices in the Dubai Marina have increased by 81%. And if we look at a price per square foot basis, prices in apartments such as Bay Central are already at 2,400 dirhams per square foot. So for this reason, I feel like capital appreciation in areas such as the Dubai Marina will slow down. Whereas if we look at the demand for townhouses, I personally feel like there's going to be a lot more demand in this sector of the market. If you use me for example, I'm 27 and I'm single, and a 1-bedroom apartment is all I need. However, if you fast forward 5 years time, I might have a girlfriend, and also I might be looking to start a family. And guess what? If that happens, I'm going to be looking for more space, and a townhouse or villa is what I'm going to be looking at, either renting or buying. And it's worth bearing in mind there's lots and lots of young professionals and also young families who are moving into Dubai, and they all demand townhouses and villas. So in the next 5 years, I feel like there's going to be increased demand for townhouses and villas. And if you factor in there's not going to be a lot of supply coming onto the market, I feel the capital appreciation in the townhouse and villa segment is going to continue to rise. This is especially true because you can buy townhouses currently at relatively affordable rates at 909 dirhams per square foot. So if we're just comparing 909 dirhams per square foot versus 2,400 dirhams per square foot, there's a lot greater chance for prices to rise in that townhouse segment of the market. So like I've explained, I personally feel there's going to be a lot more capital appreciation for townhouses. So let's answer the question, should you invest in a townhouse or an apartment? Let's say your budget is 2 million dirhams. I personally right now would be investing in townhouses because there's a greater chance of capital appreciation. Yes, the yield's not going to be as good as an apartment. However, what you've got to look at is the long-term supply versus demand. And if you're looking at the long-term, and in property, you should be looking at that long-term growth and that capital appreciation, because in the future, that is where you're going to be making your money. Also, we are seeing rents in townhouses and villas continue to rise as there is an extreme lack of supply. However, if your budget can't afford a townhouse, then obviously you've got to be looking at apartments. If you are looking at apartments, look for areas where there's very limited supply which is scheduled to come onto the market, because that will mean you've got a greater chance of capital appreciation in the future. And if you want to find out about some of the best villa communities in Dubai, watch this video here and don't forget to like and subscribe.